Hello and welcome back. I hope everybody is doing amazing. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for your messages. And yeah, it really means a lot. So I wanted to come on and make kind of a part 2 of Dark Night of the Soul and Kundalini activation. The reason why I'm doing this is because there's so many people at the studio that are where the Kundalini is being activated, and I wanted to put out videos pertaining to that, but I knew I had to kind of start somewhere. So if you haven't seen the first video and you're interested, you can go back on this channel and find the first part of this video, and then it will make more sense. So I'm kind of going to add on from there, and I kind of want to make it semi-short. I always struggle with time. So I think I left off kind of explaining how I was not really here. I was either in higher states of consciousness, or I was completely suffering. But I was showing how there was a way out. Now, don't get me wrong. I am still tormented with the physical separation of my fiance in very many ways. But I was able to maintain that energetic connection that I was referring to, that I'm so very grateful for. So I feel like the one thing that shifted for me is that I noticed what I was doing to be able to take a look at all the external distractions that was preventing me from communicating with my higher self. So I was really able to observe. So I didn't just step back and see what I wanted to see. I stepped back and saw everything for what it was. Because when you start to step back and observe and examine your consciousness, then you will be able to be in harmony with yourself. But you have to be honest with yourself when you are stepping back and examining your consciousness and really observing, because we tend to automatically just merge back into habitual patterns, whether we even recognize it or not. So the only way to kind of break free from that is just being completely honest with yourself. Honesty is the key. And when you kind of get thrown back in these two habitual patterns, it kind of keeps us stuck. So there's always opportunity and room for growth. It's just how you allow it and how you open up to it and how you see it. So you want to be able to impact and shift and hold higher truths. And you do that by being honest with yourself, loving yourself, and expanding through your heart center. So we do a lot of heart activation in our classes, and there's a lot of emotional release. But it allows you to be able to understand that there is a way out of suffering or depression or anxiety. And it's not an easy way. It's not a snap of a finger or going through a door and that's it. It's constant work. But then you can start to appreciate the constant work, because that's when your internal world becomes stronger than your external world. And that's when you are in control of your internal world, and your external world can no longer control you. So that's something we want to step back and see. Again, I am just strictly going by my experience and how I activated my Kundalini. And again, I did mention in the first video, it's different for everybody. So it's different for everybody. Everybody's on a very specific journey. And I'm hoping in some way that this can relate to you or resonate with you on a soul level in some sort of way. Or you could pick something up from this video, even if it's one thing that might be able to help you. Anytime that I kind of notice myself shifting back into the physical, where, for example, oh, I need to pay this bill, or I need to accomplish this, or I need to do this, or the more consumed my mind was with the external world is when I really started suffering. And this doesn't mean that we don't have responsibilities. It means knowing that there's a higher truth, that because if you're being comfortable all the time and you're going back to those habitual patterns, behavior patterns that put you back into your same comfort zone because that's what you're familiar with, then it inhibits you from self-growth. So it's kind of like the same thing that I always say, you know, when it's cold outside, we just kind of want to go into our bed and put the covers on. And that's just what we're used to, where we want to go home. And you know what? It's okay, but it's trying to have a shift in perspective to realize that there's always a good to your experiences. If you're experiencing something, let's say that you perceive to be unfavorable in your life, something unfavorable is happening to you, then when you start to shift your perspective, it's not just happening to you, but it's happening to you to show you a higher truth. And then you can see a higher truth in yourself, and then you can be grateful for that opportunity instead of shifting into a victimhood mentality, or why me, or why does this continue to happen? I mean, that's how we stay stuck in habitual behaviors. And that's something that's super important, because the clearer your channel and the more that you are go right straight into your emotions as opposed to avoiding them, the clearer your path is going to be. So the more light you're going to be able to bring into your body, the more truth, the more love you'll have, the more compassion you'll have for other people, empathy, unity, harmony, balance, peace. This is all obtainable. But again, we just kind of have to sometime really take the time to sit back and examine your consciousness. And that takes a lot of work, because you're forced to see some really hard truths. And you're forced to kind of shatter your perceptions and things that you once always believed in. sometimes you realize they were never really true. And we have to be compassionate to ourselves while we're learning and going on this path. We have to hold compassion for ourselves, and we have to hold compassion for each other. So we tend to lose ourselves in other people. And this is why it's so important to know yourself and to love yourself, and then you'll be able to see. But if you start to lose yourself in somebody else, and you might even not realize that it's happening, you're creating a suffering that you don't want to face and that you don't want to see. So that's why it's super important, if you're looking to activate your Kundalini or find your path, because everybody has one. The quicker you can shift your perspective and the more true that you are to yourself, the easier it is to be able to find your path. And when you find your path, you will know, because you'll feel it with every cell in your body. It's just kind of like faith. Faith is super important to have if you are looking for some more of your internal world, because you don't see your internal world, you feel it energetically. It's a completely different world than we normally just stay in, which could have been lifetimes that we just stayed in the physical reality, and then we weren't really aware of our inner reality, or we were aware of our inner reality to some extent, but we were just blindfolding ourselves from really seeing the inner world. So the more you see and the more you take on in the external world, the more you are kind of blindfolding yourself to see your inner world. And it's super important to know that, because happiness comes from your internal world. All these words that I talk about, happiness, love, true love, compassion for other people, this all starts with yourself. And over time, when you're really taking the time to observe your consciousness and behavior patterns, you start to see yourself for who you really are. And then there comes a time when you realize that you'll become just like a mirror for other people. We're all just mirrors. And it's being able to neutralize anger and hate and division and fear, and not perpetuate that to anyone around you. That's how you get closer to your truth. So you perpetuate love and honesty and kindness and compassion, and that's going to help you step right back on your path. Perpetuating any type of anger or fear can just be detrimental to your energetic body. And what we really want to do is we want to learn how to raise our energy. And we all have our own way of learning how to raise our energy, and it's done through diving deep into your internal reality. Right now, I feel like there's kind of a time and a space when you're stepping into this and you're stepping on this path, that if you're on your true path, then behaviors and actions are either going to have to be corrected or eliminated in your life, or they're just going to be magnified. And that's super important to understand. Because when you're on your path, when you go off of it, there can be a lot of destructive things that, could potentially happen. But this is a beautiful thing, is that we all have free will. So you have the choice. It's up to you, and it's only up to you, and it's only ever up to you. And I think sometimes we can lose ourselves in the struggle by not knowing truly who we are and not standing sovereign in our truth and not being able to really understand that when we stand sovereign in our truth, we're just opening the door to our inner world, and we get to dive into amazing states of consciousness. And then when we have these states of consciousness, we simply work on expanding them. And I want to make more videos. I'm going to make more videos pertaining to how to do this or how it happened for me specifically. But the main goal is to become in harmony with yourself and to be compassionate to yourself and love yourself. But first you gotta, if that's not happening for you, then you have to break down some truths that aren't probably, you gotta work on observing and examining your consciousness and being honest. That's the main goal. That's the main goal, just to kind of center you back into your path. And then you have more work to do. So it's a continuous stream of work. I know it's not a magic key to, or a magic door to be able to kind of step onto this path, but trust me, it's worth it. And I'm sure you have heard, if you're watching this video, that you've heard of how amazing your life can be and how you can pull yourself out of the darkest of the dark. I was able to experience a deep part of myself that I truly never knew. And it put me through the darkest trials. And I faced the devil within myself. So I was faced with it. And when you're faced with it, these moments can become very dark. A way that I was kind of shown from my guides was they showed me and my two kids. So my two children and me, or if you remember when you were younger, when you did Ring Around the Rosie, and you go really fast, you're spinning, you're holding hands, you're going really fast, you're turning really fast. And that's kind of what you want to do. That's how you kind of want the flow of life to be. And things are going to happen. And either someone can move their arm in or somebody can just let go. And then to maintain that link, you can either get up or you can go your whole entire life without getting back up and breaking that flow of energy that we are trying to increase and acknowledge. So it's just jumping back on board and finding the good in everything, which is extremely difficult to do at sometimes. Especially if you're at the darkest point of your life, you really have to search pretty hard for things that you're grateful for, or things that you care about, or things that you love. So I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this. I didn't want to keep this under 20 minutes and kind of break it up into parts. I hope this would help you. I hope everybody, again, is doing very well. Thank you so much. So much love and light to you. Namaste.